Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. For today, as usual, the first day of the week being the Tuesday because Monday was off yet again. We're going to be taking a look at Tesla stock and talk about essentially what's happening, what today's move even was, because it was quite a pretty interesting move. I did trade it a bit today, make some money on it, but I'll tell you, my current thoughts on it, my position, whatever, what I'm doing, all that stuff. So if you guys enjoy, as usual, please don't forget to hit that like button. It helps a lot. But nonetheless, let's talk about Tesla. So ending the day at $699.20, just shy 80 cents off of 700, which is pretty good considering Tesla at some point I think was down. I think around the lowest point was down about 4, maybe 5%, give or take. I can't remember exactly, but it was somewhere around that general level. And not only did it go from there, it went from 4 to 5% down. Let's double check that quickly. It went from, about 4.7% down to just completely just rallying throughout the rest of the day, up from the lowest point, up almost 8% from the day's low, which is obviously quite fantastic. Now, let's talk about it. So, what does it mean? What can we expect? What's happening? Is this good? Is this bullish? Etc. 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 So first and foremost, on the daily, nice beautiful candle on the daily. Buyers just absolutely just dominated today. Just pure domination from the buyers today, right? This was a little bit concerning, but the fact that we still did go lower is, I'm not gonna lie, a little concerning. Even though this had a beautiful reversal, I'm still not particularly happy that we did drop lower like that. But I am happy that it did recover. However, guys, I will say again, I try to be as unbiased as I can, right? Full disclosure, I currently have no positions. I did sell out way back when we were at 720. And I did trade today a little bit here and there, of course. But full disclosure, guys, I personally believe this is a bull trap. Now, that doesn't mean that that's it, we're going to just completely crash from here. Absolutely not. There is still a chance that we do rally up to... to me, the way I'm looking at it right now is there's two things that this could be. One is the fact that we're creating essentially this kind of like... bearish kind of wedge, if you will, right? There's a chance that we are creating this kind of bear wedge right here that you can see this blue line and the bottom blue line and this one that kind of goes straight down like this. There's a chance that we are just essentially in this, right? And we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 point bounce already, potentially a 6 to 7, which is not uncommon necessarily, but it's slightly less likely, but it's very possible as well. So pretty much, unless we can break out of this downtrend-ish line right here, you can see, which in that case, somewhere around this week would pretty much be around 730, I would say, to make it simple. If we can't break above 730, to me, this is not only still a downtrend, however, it is also still a bearish downtrend and ultimately a bull trap. That's the way I'm currently viewing at it, right? If, however, we can break above 730, which I'm personally not expecting it to, however, of course, on the off chance that it happens, the next thing I'll be looking for is a potential stop sitting pretty much that ultimate target I had way before, which is around almost $800, right? Pretty much until at the very least this is broken, but especially pretty much 800 can be broken and we can go above 800. I'm net bearish. Again, short term for the next maybe couple of days, maybe even this week, whatever it is, there is a chance that we move up and essentially play out this pattern that we are in. The first and foremost, again, being this kind of 720, 730-ish level that I'm looking at, mainly 730, I guess, being the main one I'm looking at. And the reason I personally have no position around that is because, again, I did trade today. I sold some puts when we were down here. Then, when we rallied up, I'm unfortunately at the very top, but, when we were sitting around kind of the 680s roughly, I did buy back the puts at obviously a discounts, and I locked in those, realized gains, whatever. I'm happy with that. It wasn't like a crazy amount, but enough for me to be, okay with, content with, if you will. The reason I didn't hold those positions and the reason I'm not currently in any positions for a bullish run is because the risk reward to me isn't great, because to me it just feels like almost at any point this is just going to get completely rug pulled and we're just going to start plummeting pretty hard and pretty aggressively. That is the feeling that I'm getting right now, and I'll show you guys more as to why that is, but that's kind of the idea I'm having. And as of right now, again, in my opinion, based off of after today's move, I personally think we are playing out this kind of bear pennant that we are in. So I personally think 730, we're not going to go much higher. That might not even get to 730. So to me, the risk versus the reward, personally, just isn't there. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I'll be patient. This is a market where patience is important. It's important to be, more risk adverse, in my opinion. I've said this before, not financial advice. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, make your own decisions with your money, whatever. But this is just my personal opinion. I don't want to take too many, super risky plays, because that's how you get burnt in this market. And I personally think I've done a very fantastic job at preserving my capital while everything is essentially tanking. And I'm going to essentially make sure I do that because I personally don't think the bottom is in. So essentially what I'm seeing, guys, at the moment is pretty much this bear pennant, maybe a bear flag, but most likely a bear pennant playing out, ultimately dropping to the downside. And that's, I think, where we're going to start making due to my overall price target, which I said is starting at around 550 to 450. Anywhere in this range, in my opinion, again, not financial advice, anywhere in this range, anywhere in the 17% range, in my opinion, is the accumulation range. This is where you should be buying from, again, from my personal opinion. I can't, make my own decisions, right? I don't want anyone getting, mad if they listen to me and I'm incorrect, because I could very well be incorrect. However, I personally believe we will pretty much see somewhere around this general range, 550, 450, somewhere around there, I think is where the bottom will be. I don't know exactly where, but that is personally where I believe we're going to ultimately end up, which is why I also am playing extremely safe. We have some important numbers coming out this week. I believe we have a CPI coming out. I believe that's Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check that, and maybe I'll get back to you guys on that tomorrow. But yeah, essentially, this is going to be a week where, I think caution is not a bad thing, especially just this whole summer, right? But let's take a look at more obstacles or more things that are important to, obviously have an idea of. So the EMA, of course, the 21 EMA, very important for an ultimate reversal, is still sitting over at 705, still below that. The Bollinger Band, we're pretty much hovering the white line now. So we did bounce more or less off the red line-ish. Now we're just pretty much magneting back to the white line, which it usually does, like I always say, right? It always bounces off the lines, the major ones, like the green and the red. So ultimately come back to the white line, and then we see from there. So we'll see what happens with that, of course. We are slightly above it, which is good. But, nonetheless, we are still ultimately not that far above it. So it's not too crazy just yet. Moving on to the 10-day moving average, we're still below that. The 5-day moving average, we did cross over, which is great. But again, like I said, I also have those 3-day rules where, if you go above it or below it, you want to see a sustained move above it or below it. At the moment, this is just, we had 3 days below it, and now we have 1 day above it, maybe 2 if we're lucky. But again, ultimately, you'd want to see this hold for as long as possible to kind of confirm a potential mini reversal, if you will. But until the 10-day moving average is also recaptured and held above it, most importantly, held above it. If we go up above the 10-day moving average for a day, maybe 2, that's not enough in my opinion. Again, I have a 3-day rule. So we'll see what happens with that. But ultimately, guys, I still think we're playing out this bear pennant. That's just my honest opinion. I really think that's happening. I genuinely would be surprised if ultimately this turns out to be a bullish move. Again, that doesn't mean that there can't be more upside potentially in the very short term. I want to make that clear, very short term. But ultimately, in the next, month, let's say, like pretty much July, all of July, anywhere between now and September, I ultimately think there's a very high chance we'll have a lower low, a new low, if you will. So that's something that I'm personally just kind of patiently waiting for, playing the moves here and there while I can, but ultimately waiting for my, actual buy zone, which is kind of, the game plan right now, if you will. So taking, excuse me, a look at the RSI. You can see the RSI did make a lower low over here, even though the stock did make a higher low. That's a bearish divergence. That's not something that you necessarily want to see. Going to the 15-minute chart, you can see here, RSI is actually looking decent on the 15-minute chart, which I think further justifies that we potentially might have a move up to like maybe 720, maybe even 730. I definitely think there is still some room to move for the short term. Again, literally for this week, potentially even, right? Maybe tomorrow. But again, ultimately, guys, I personally believe fairly strongly that this is going to be a bull trap. Play it as you will, take it as you will. I could very well be wrong, of course, but as you can see here, as the stock was making lower lows, the RSI was making higher lows, which is good, which again signifies that this run is most likely not done yet. There's still probably enough juice for, I would say, one more run up. Maybe tomorrow we drop down to like 680, 685, probably bounce off of that, and then ultimately make our way up to somewhere around that level I was talking about, being 720, maybe 730. Definitely not out of the question whatsoever, but again, I don't think that move is just ultimately worth it, because at this point you're pretty much going to be playing a 5% move, which is fantastic, by the way, for a potential drop. And if it drops, again, once we start making this drop, in my opinion, and especially once we start collapsing underneath that overall trend line that we are in on the daily, let's say, for instance, right, this kind of this bottom blue line, essentially once this bottom blue line actually breaks under, we aren't going to be seeing these levels for a while, right? Which is why, like, if you start making a play around here to hope to make this, to hope to trade this 5% to the upside, but then let's say the rug pull happens, you don't know exactly when it'll happen, but let's say it happens, and then it does start going down from here, and it doesn't go back up back to like 720 ever again, or like for a while, I guess, and then it breaks out of this blue line and it falls under. Well, you're going to be back holding this, where you bought up here for literally months, at least. That's something I'm not willing to do. personally. So again, I'm sitting on my hands for now. I'm kind of waiting. I'm seeing what happens. I'm letting this play out. I'm letting this direction to be a bit more obvious again. But ultimately, guys, I'm net bearish, very short-term bullish, but an overall net bearish. And yeah, that's essentially what I'm seeing. So let me know what you think down below. What you're doing, what your game plan is, what you think will happen. But yeah, for the summer, guys, I personally think we will be seeing a lower low. So take it as you will, not financial advice, make your own decisions. But up until then, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.